Some souls don't arrive to add new layers. They come to release the worn-out ones. If you've ever felt life keeps pushing you to finish something, to say enough, and to stop repeating what others call normal, this isn't failure, friend. It's your true function. Carl Jung said the psyche moves teleologically. It has a purposeful direction. And for certain people, that direction isn't endless expansion, but a sacred completion that brings peace. You're not here to decorate the house. You're here to renovate the foundation so the entire family line stops leaking from old wounds. If this language is new to you, closing cycles isn't about abruptly abandoning people or raising your life. It's a deep willingness to let what's false dissolve, to stop keeping dead forms alive with your energy. If this stirs something within you, now is the perfect moment to join us on the Metasitta channel. By turning on the notification bell and subscribing, you're not just connecting with insights like these, but also helping build a more beautiful and peaceful world, starting from yourself. Let's create a space for growing together, one reflection at a time. Before diving into the signs, let me offer a gentle promise. There's no superiority here. Being chosen doesn't mean special snowflake. It means responsibility. It means you've noticed the thread of pain weaving through your history, and you're willing to pull it, even if the whole sweater of life unravels. That takes courage, but it also takes patience, humor, and a community that speaks the same language. Think of this as your corner of the internet where we do that slow, honest, brave growth without spiritual cosplay. As Jung said, every transformation demands, as its precondition, the ending of a world, the collapse of an old philosophy of life. If doors keep closing around you, jobs that should fit but don't, friendships that quietly fade, cities that lose their color, don't read it as punishment. In Jungian terms, your libido, psychic energy, is withdrawing from forms that no longer serve individuation. This is a pruning season, not an apocalypse. Picture a good gardener. They don't hate branches. They shape them so the tree can breathe and bear fruit. Your endings are that shaping. How do you know it's true closure, not self-sabotage? Notice the tone of the feeling. Self-sabotage usually comes with panic, compulsive speed, or a need to prove something. True closure feels calm, strangely loving, even if it hurts. There's grief, yes, but beneath it, a small, clean click. You're not running. You're letting go of the grip. Chosen people aren't sent to start 10 new plots at once. They're sent to end storylines that steal oxygen from the larger narrative. Here's practical support you can try. Create a completion ritual. Write an unsent letter of release. Return objects tying you to expired identities. Close digital tabs that reactivate old pain. Your nervous system needs symbolic action as much as your mind needs insight. An ending metabolized with ceremony doesn't return as a ghost. And if you worry about being the one who always leaves, remember, leaving isn't your core pattern. Denial is its source. Leaving is just the outer face of courage to speak truthfully. You're learning the art of ending well, so one day you can start with a truer feeling. Not because you're forced, but because the soil has been tilled and is ready for planting. As Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Jung once likened the meeting of two personalities to a chemical reaction. If there's contact, both are changed. People who carry closing energy often show up like litmus paper, testing hidden truths in a space. You walk in, and suddenly masks feel itchy. Narratives carefully upheld start to wobble. It's not because you're cruel, but because your presence reflects what's long been disowned. For some, that mirror is grace. For others, it stings. And here's what's rarely said. You don't need to speak at length for this to happen. You can show up quietly, even anxiously, and still be a catalyst. The psyche recognizes resonance before the mind forms sentences. When someone projects anger or envy onto you, it's often the early vibration of a deeper shift. Your job isn't to save or retaliate, but to stay regulated enough to discern what's yours and what's theirs. That's not coldness. It's compassion that doesn't dissolve. If you notice certain relationships only persist when you carry their emotional weight, that's not transformation, it's dependency. Closing energy says, I meet you at the edge of your honesty. Beyond that, it's no longer your task. In practice, this looks like fewer explanations and more clarity. Not convincing, but stating, this is what I can give. This is what I can't. Those who are ready will rise. Those who aren't might call you difficult. Both are information. As Jung said, emotion is the chief source of all becoming conscious. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. If life sometimes feels like déjà vu with better lighting, it's not just imagination, it's lineage. Jung called it the collective shadow, pressures seeking redemption through individuals. In simpler terms, what your lineage couldn't face gets stored like unpaid emotional bills, and someone in the next generation gets the invoice. Often, that's you, the ones carrying closing energy. You find yourself in relationships mimicking your parents' untold stories. You carry guilt for choosing a different path. You feel loyal to suffering, as if joy is a betrayal of the tribe. The subtle trap. Who am I to thrive when they couldn't? But this is why you're here, not to copy the script, but to edit it. A gentle practice. Map the patterns without blaming anyone. Try 3 columns. What did they endure? How did they cope? And what did I inherit emotionally? You might find your overthinking is inherited hypervigilance from a grandmother who had to always brace for danger, or that your people-pleasing is a survival bond from a father who equated compliance with love. When those functions are named, shame turns to tenderness. You're not flawed, you're adaptive. Then comes the cycle-closing move, respectful disobedience. You can honor your ancestors without inheriting their limits. Breaking shoulds isn't rejecting family. It's refusing to carry wounds forward. In practice, this looks like micro-acts of reversal, where the line chose silence, you speak. Where they chose martyrdom, you question. Where they chose numbness, you feel. At first, it can feel wrong. Your nervous system might throw a protest party. That's normal. Healing often feels like betrayal to the part of you trained to belong at all costs. If you need a mantra, try Aham Prema. I am love and am here to share love. I keep love, not patterns. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from running a race you never signed up for. All around, everyone seems to be sprinting. More targets, more metrics, more brands. While a part of you wants to step off the track, lean on the fence, and ask, where are we even going? And why isn't anyone breathing? Jung called this the withdrawal of libido, psychic energy moving inward, preparing for transformation. It's not laziness or apathy. It's refusal. Refusal to invest life force in illusions, status that doesn't soothe the soul, work systems that erode the body, applause that doesn't feed the true self. If usual incentives feel like empty carbs, trust that signal. You're not broken for wanting slow, deep, accurate. You're calibrating. The world tends to reward motion, not meaning. So when you slow down, friction is natural, both from outside and within. The mind might say, "You're falling behind." But the body answers, "We're finally catching up." Trust the body. You're not here to stack achievements. You're here to dismantle false scaffolding so a truer architecture can emerge. In practice, this means carving intentional pauses into the day. 5 minutes of breathing before opening the next tab. A slow walk without a podcast. Completing one task with full attention rather than five in a rush. Swap the question, "What did I produce?" for "What did I touch?" As in, which part of myself did I meet today? Take a weekly Sabbath from striving. No optimization, no productivity hacks. Cook slowly. Read one page 3 times because it feels delicious. This is an indulgence. It's reallocation, shifting energy from the persona's image to the self-center. When the push stops, the right actions become clearer, more efficient. The path you rediscover isn't the old race, it's your own road. As Jung said, the psyche is a self-regulating system that maintains its equilibrium just as the body does. When life keeps delivering ending after ending, there comes a moment you realize, this isn't punishment, it's initiation. Jung wrote repeatedly about the rhythm of death and rebirth in the psyche. The ego cracks so the self can breathe. In reality, this rarely looks pretty. Jobs fail. Friends stop calling. Plans that once defined your identity no longer work. Your reflex is to run back to the familiar, to patch up the old mask and pretend it still fits. But if you can stay in the open space after loss, without rushing to fill it, without selling it as a win, just stay, a quiet settles in, as if something deeper is arranging you from within. Symbolic death is a pause from falseness. Symbolic rebirth is the return of accuracy. The way to cooperate with this rhythm is to name what truly needs to die. Not your whole life, but the role of savior, the fantasy of always being needed, the belief that your worth hinges on output. Precision eases the panic. Give the body a task. Grief is a physiological process. It asks to be carried, not solved. Walk slowly, eat warmly, cry without apology. Guard the liminal space. After something dies, there's a soft middle where the new hasn't arrived. That's where half-true voices emerge. Invitations to settle for almost right. Relationships that soothe but shrink you. Face those offers with, "I won't build a new life from materials that once broke me." Listen for the small yes. Rebirth often blinks quietly. A line from a book, one task completed, a grounded conversation. Follow that thread, hour by hour. You're not manifesting a future, you're apprenticing to integrity. As the yes gather, energy once leaked to manage appearances returns as creative fire. You still feel fear, and that's good. Fear means you're crossing a threshold without surrendering to outer systems. Light a candle and say, "I release what's complete. I bless what's becoming." Write a letter from your future self who's integrated this cycle. Then read it to your trembling self today. You are the point where patterns end and humanity begins, where old loyalties loosen and a new line forms, one built on sanity, not mere survival. Closing cycles isn't erasing the past, it's honoring it by refusing to repeat it. You're not losing yourself, you're refining the signal. Let what's finished rest. Let what's true stay. Walk forward, lightly, precisely, ready for a real beginning. This is how an ending becomes a sacred threshold for becoming. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. On this journey, we see chosen people come to close cycles, releasing inherited wounds, triggering transformation, breaking ancestral patterns, detaching from false races, and embracing symbolic deaths and rebirths. This isn't about superiority, but loving responsibility towards self and lineage, toward individuation that brings true peace. Remember, every ending is an invitation to a more authentic beginning, where love stays but patterns fade. If this message finds you at the edge of an ending, no, you're not losing life. You're releasing what no longer holds truth. Comment below. Do you have a similar story or an insight on this theme? Share so we can anchor that energy together. And if this resonates, hit subscribe to Metasitta, where endings become awakenings and awareness becomes freedom. My suggestion, share this content with those who need it, perhaps a sibling or friend wrestling with old cycles. Your presence matters here. Let's keep connecting and growing together toward a world full of hope and healing.